So I was in the work release program of the jail, and there was a group. It was an NA group, and Jesse Harvey was the leader of this particular NA group. It was a closed group because anybody that came into the jail facility had to be approved. So it was usually just people coming with Jesse, recovery advocates, and other people from the Journey House. So Jesse's role there, I don't know if it was primarily to like get people into the Journey House, but he was just trying to make an impact wherever he could. Jesse at the time, I believe Jesse was 26 years old. He had just started Journey House, Recovery House, Sober House. He had one in Lewiston, and he had one in Sanford. So he had started Journey House, and Journey House was like a different kind of sober house. What I mean different was that it was more relaxed. Like if you tested dirty, they wouldn't just kick you out on the streets. You know what I mean? Like they would work with you, they'd give you a second chance, and they'd eventually kick you out if you kept messing up. But they also allowed medication assisted treatment. So if you were on methadone, they would let you stay there. And if you were on Suboxone, you could stay there. And at the time, in 2017, there wasn't a lot of sober houses that would allow Suboxone and methadone. They really frowned upon that. There's like a big divide on people who think it works and people who think you're just switching one drug for another. But so it's Jesse's group. And Jesse comes in, you know what I mean, always wearing like these white Nikes, beat up Nikes, kind of looked like a skater kid. And he didn't really talk a lot, he listened a lot. That was a different thing about Jesse, is Jesse wouldn't try to preach in your face. He would more try to ask you who you are, what's your story, what are your goals, and he really related to people. He was not trying to make a name for himself. He was a real humble dude. And I gravitated towards him since he was a humble dude. Like I really respected him. And he told everybody, like, hey, when you guys get out, because everybody in the work release program is near release. So everybody's getting ready to get out. And so I took his business card, Journey House Recovery. So anyways, I get out, and I remember I had relapsed, and I had to go in to see my probation officer, and I knew that I was going to pee dirty. So I was scared. I didn't know what to do. So what I did is I knew that if I checked into a detox, I could tell my probation officer that I'm in detox, I'm in a program, therefore I wouldn't have to go in and pee dirty, right? It's better to say I relapsed and I'm in recovery than it is to say, hey, I relapsed and here's a dirty drug test. So that was my like escape plan, because if you, I take that back. You don't have to tell your PO that you used. You can just say that you're in a treatment facility. It can be for whatever, but it gets you out of having to go in and check in, and it keeps you within the boundaries of legally not violating your probation. So that was my goal. So I called Jesse, since he was the one person that I knew who ran a sober house. And so I called him and I said, Jesse, hey, it's Timothy. Remember me from the jail? He's like, yeah, how are you doing? I said, listen, man, I said, I'm kind of in a bind. I said, is there any way that I can come to one of the houses? And he asked me some questions. He asked me like, he asked me if I was, he asked me if I was drinking. Okay, sorry, I'm backtracking this. He said, I need to go to St. Mary's Hospital in Lewiston. And if I go to St. Mary's Hospital, then he can get me into the sober house. But I have to, in order to be let into the sober house, I have to come out of because they don't want people coming into the sober house all strung out. So what they have to do is they have to have some sobriety, like a couple days of sobriety detox underneath their belt before the sober house will take them in. And And he said, he said, have you been drinking? And I said, no. He says, listen, he says, this is kind of a strange situation, but this is the only way this is going to work. He says, St. Mary's Hospital will not take you into the detox program unless you're drunk. And I don't drink, but that's the only way that they would take me into the program. It's not a drug program. It's a detox for alcohol program. But since that hospital was in Lewiston, therefore the sober house was in Lewiston, he could take me from Lewiston into Lewiston. So he says, yeah, he says, you're gonna have to go and get drunk if you want to get into the sober house. So and I was not happy about that. I did not want to drink. So what I did is I got a ride from somebody, and I went up to Lewiston. I went to the store, and I went in and bought a 6-pack of whatever it was, PBR, or no, it was Natural Ice. Yeah, it was Natural Ice. So I just start pounding the beers, and it's just so gross. Like the taste is just so nasty. I cannot stand beer, but I have to do it, right? And so I'm just chugging. And I'm right outside the hospital. Like there's this wooded area outside the hospital. It's got like a bench, and it's kind of like secluded. So I just sat there and pounded all these beers. And then finally, after I pounded them, I went in and I said, hey, I'm drunk and I have a problem with alcohol. I need to check into the detox. And so they do a blood test, and they check my blood alcohol. My blood alcohol was only a 0.07. They still took me in, but it's like I wasn't very convincing, because most of the alcoholics that they take in, their blood alcohol is like 0.2 something, 0.18. It's usually pretty high, and I was a 0.07. But anyway, so they took me in. I thought I was going to have to be there for a long time, but Jesse, and so I got in there and I called my PO, and I said, yeah, I'm in St. Mary's Hospital right now, and when I get out of here, Journey House is taking me in. And she goes, oh, isn't that convenient? Like she knew what I was doing. But what am I supposed to do? Like go back to jail? Like I wasn't trying to go back to jail. So she said, okay. She says, well, since you're going to be in Lewiston, you're going to have to transfer to the Lewiston probation, and you're going to have to switch probation officers. I'm thankful. Her name is Kim. I did not want Kim. Kim is like, there's some probation officers that like try to work with you. Kim just wants to put everybody in jail. And I hate to say that, because like she comes off as like a nice person, but there's nothing nice about her. She's just a really mean lady. But I get it. She deals with a lot of scumbags on a daily basis, and I'm sure everybody lies to her. I'm sure there's not an ounce of truth that ever gets told to her. So I get it. I shouldn't take it personal, but she puts a lot of people in jail. So I didn't want to go to jail. So this was like my way out. So Journey House ends up coming to pick me up, and I end up going to the house. Really nice house. I got my own bedroom. There's only 6 people in the house. I was the 6th person, so there's only, actually I think it was like 5. Real mellow house. There was only one person with a car. His name was Preston. And so like whenever we needed a ride, we had to ask Preston. I hated asking Preston for a ride. But when you're in Lewiston, it's like the bus system is not like the way it is in Portland. The buses run like twice a day. There's like one bus stop. It's terrible, and it's cold. It's like 0 degrees or snowstorms. Not a good place to be if you don't have a vehicle. But I'm there, and I ended up getting a job at the Fireball Whiskey bottling factory. So what I would do is the bottles of whiskey would come out, and I would and so I'd take them. These are like the big bottles. I'd take them and I'd put them in a box of like 8, and then I'd shut it, put it through the tape. There was like a tape machine. It would go through the tape machine. The person would take it from the tape machine and stack it on a pallet. And then they'd put you in like another area where there's a bottle cap machine. So the cap goes on all the bottles, and basically your job is just to make sure that the cap is on properly, because sometimes the machine will not put the cap on right. So it's just an assembly line just going by, and you're just going very repetitive. I was good at it. I'm good at repetitive machinery work. It's easy. It's like and time goes by fast because it's fast paced. This was actually a really good job. I liked working at the Fireball Whiskey bottling factory, but I was going through a temp agency, and it was temporary help, so they didn't always need me. And so but the temp agency was good at like putting me somewhere else. So if I wasn't at the temp agency, I'd be at they had a bread factory. There was a donut factory, lots of factory work out there. So I'm doing that. And then I had joined a church called Connect Church in Lewiston. This was a great church. The pastor was like my age. At the time I think I was like around 34. The pastor was 34. His wife was 34. They had good praise and worship, and like a real Bible believing Christian church, active in the community. So church was on Sunday, and the pastor also did a food bank. So during the week he'd be running the food bank and just real active in the community. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get active in the community. Journey House also was setting up a women's journey house also in Lewiston. So sometimes I'd go over to the women's journey house, and I'd bring in furniture. We brought in furniture and just did a bunch of work for the women's journey house. It ended up opening up. I think it's still there. I'm not sure, but yeah. So I'm living in Lewiston, and everything's going good. Jesse comes up every single Wednesday for dinner, and he usually brings like a journalist and like some sort of like public figure every time he comes, a journalist or an advocate or somebody. He comes up and he eats dinner with us. Each day at the sober house, it's somebody else's turn to cook. So whatever day it is you cook, Jesse comes up, and it didn't matter what the food was. Jesse's like, oh, this is great. I remember like the food was like terrible, and we're like, man, Jesse's not gonna like this, and we're always trying to please Jesse because it's Jesse's house. Jesse started it. Jesse's what gave us this opportunity. So we're all very thankful to Jesse, like we never tried to kiss his butt, but we were always at least for me, I was very thankful for the guy. Like he did a lot for me. Oh, and I didn't have enough money to even go into Journey House. Jesse let me move in with $0. And the house manager kept pressing me. He's like, when are you going to get the money? When do you get the money for rent? Oh, you're short on this. Oh, we're going to kick you out. And I was stressed, man, because like I didn't have any money. And I talked to Jesse, and Jesse basically told me, dude, don't worry about rent. You're not going to get kicked out. I'll talk to the house manager, and you're good. Don't worry. When can you pay? I can pay next month. How much can you pay? I can pay 150. All right, pay 150. And that's the way it was. Jesse was cool, right? And I did pay. But let's say I couldn't, Jesse was cool with it. You know what I mean? Like Jesse was trying to help drug addicts. Jesse wasn't trying to make money from rent. That's not what he was doing. So I'm living there. So after Jesse talked to the house manager, my problems with the whole rent thing went away. But then it caused hostility because then the manager didn't like me because I was in with Jesse, and he tried getting me in trouble about something else too. But then Jesse also stuck up for me and basically just told him, "Yo, chill out." And so there was hostility with the house manager. He stopped messing with me, but you could tell he was mad that I kind of had pull with Jesse, because you got to remember Jesse knew me from the jail, and he would come in every week. So me and Jesse were kind of tight because I'd always see him, in the group, and he knew where I came from. It's not like I was just some dude that just showed up. Jesse knew my story. He knew that I was in jail. He knew that it was my 10th time. He knew that I was trying to get better. He knew that I was pissing clean. Jesse knew what was up. And so there's also a person named Eric and Crystal. Eric and Crystal are married. Eric lives at the Journey House in Sanford, and Crystal, Crystal runs the women's Journey House in Sanford. I might have that mixed up, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it was. I'm doing my Bible thing, and I'm trying to just really like trusting God, trying to get sober. And I remember like people in the house, the manager started giving me crap, like, oh, don't be bringing that Christian crap around here. Don't be shoving the Bible down people's throat. You know, and I never was shoving the Bible down anybody's throat. But those are the types of things that he would say. And he was trying to he didn't like the whole me going to church thing and me inviting the other house members to church. He didn't like it. And so he said when Crystal and Eric come up here, I'm gonna have a talk with them about you and, you know, trying to get everybody to go. Oh, I remember what it was now. I remember. So you had to go to like 5 meetings a week to live at this house, and wherever those meetings were counted as one. So if one was at the Salvation Army, that was 1. If you went to the one in the house, that was 2. And so what I was doing was I was saying, like, I'm going to church on Sunday and I'm going on Wednesday. I said that should count for me going to a group, because that's part of my recovery. And the house manager was trying to say, no, that doesn't count. And he was trying to get me in trouble saying I wasn't going to enough groups. He said he was going to talk to Eric and Crystal, because even though it was Jesse's house, Eric and Crystal kind of like ran it too. Like, I don't know how they ran it, but they ran it. So I remember Eric and Crystal come up, and the house manager brings up the church thing about me trying to substitute church to count it as a group, and Eric and Crystal say, oh yeah, we go to church at this church. I forget what church it was, but they're like, yeah, we go to church here. Oh yeah, we're Christians. And that threw the house manager off. And they were like, yeah, of course that counts as a group. Of course that counts as one of the 5 or 2 of the 5. They're like, yeah. So then the house manager is mad at me. So I'm feeling good. I got Jesse on my side. I got Crystal and Eric on my side. Like, I feel very confident, you know, and I'm not trying to pull wool over anybody's eyes. I'm really trying to get better. And these were just like things that were in my way, people trying to just throw me off track. But yeah, so things were going good up there. I'll make another video about how I ended up leaving there and what ended up happening. But I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. So after I left, I don't remember how long, maybe it was a year, maybe 6 months, I don't remember the timeline. Eric was doing some construction work, and he was on a ladder, and I think he was like painting or something. I don't know exactly what he was doing. I think he was painting. He falls off the ladder and breaks his back. It was either his neck or his back, but broke something to where he was in a wheelchair, he couldn't walk, and it was devastating, right? He went from being this like strong guy, running stuff, you know, just being a real strong dude, to boom, he's in a wheelchair, right? So when he's in the wheelchair, they put him on oxys. Him and Crystal start doing the oxys together, right? And then once you start doing oxys, eventually it's going to go to dope, you know? So eventually they start using together. Boom, Crystal dies, right? So she died. Eric is, I think he's back in recovery now, but so anyway, so yeah, so that was that. Then I see in the news, Jesse got arrested. So I guess some of the viewers might know exactly what happened, but I'm going to tell you like what I know that happened, what I think happened. So hold on a second. So he was at the hospital. He relapsed, got arrested, or he relapsed, went to the hospital. He is getting into like a conflict with the nurses. And so he goes in the bathroom to do a shot. The nurse is knocking on the door. Hey, we know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. Open up the door, or else we're going to come in. And Jesse's in there, you know, trying to do his thing. So the nurse and security ended up opening up the door. And Jesse's trying to do his thing. Well, somehow, like, something squirted or some sort of liquid, like, got on the nurse. I don't know if Jesse went, like, squirted on her, or, like, she tried to get it. I don't know, but some of it, like, got on her or something, right? So what they did is they charged Jesse with assault for contaminating a nurse with, I don't know, but it was like a bogus charge, and so that they ended up charging him with assault. Since Jesse was a recovery advocate, he was doing this thing called the Church of Safe Injection. And a lot of people did not like that. They were completely against it. They did not think what Jesse was doing was cool, and they wanted to shut him down. He would come out and try to give free supplies to the junkies, and he would do it out of the back of his Honda, and he'd just be giving out stuff, and the cops would come over and be like, listen, if you do this again, we're going to arrest you. We've already gotten word from people to arrest you if you keep doing this. And so he'd stop, he'd go to another city, he'd keep doing it. And so eventually now, all that Church of Safe Injection stuff, they're doing it everywhere now. Every city in America is doing that now. But so anyway, so they were trying to shut Jesse down. They made a big deal about it. It was in the news. Local recovery activist Jesse Harvey was arrested for this and drugs, and so Jesse knew the governor. He has a picture. If you look on his Facebook, he's got a picture with the senator Angus King, like together. They're like buddies. The governor, what's his name? Paul LePage. He came and cut the string at the Journey House. So Jesse knew a lot of political figures. So when this happened on the news, it was like, the way Jesse looked at it was destroying his image. Everything that he had worked for is all crumbling, you know? Everything that he was a hard worker, right? And so the way he's looking at it is, I can't recover from this. They've damaged my reputation. Everything that I'm trying to do with the church, it will no longer work anymore, because now I've got this case on the news, so nobody's going to respect me anymore. And so he ends up, they say it was an overdose, but I think it was suicide. He left a cryptic last message. I'm pretty sure it was a suicide. But yeah, he ended up dying, man, at 28 years old. And this dude, it just shows, like, you can get so far in your recovery. You can start a sober house. He had sober houses, not just one, many. If you ask me, that's pretty far to come in recovery. Having dinner with senators and the governor, that's pretty far. That's further than I've come. And then boom, you can relapse like that, and everything can end right there. So the message of this story is, don't get too far ahead of yourself. If you're far on recovery, don't forget how easy you can lose everything. You can lose everything at a drop of a dime. Know where you're at. Know where you're at with God. Turn from your sins and let God figure it out.